Welcome back to Homeschooled Podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm excited for today's episode. Long overdue. We have an awesome guest here, and I'm super excited that she's here. But first, real quick, I got to tell you guys about a brand new sponsor I want to welcome to the show. I want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Boomer Natural Wellness. You guys, Boomer Natural Wellness is a CBD-infused products, okay? But it's not just your average CBD oil company where you're going just to get stuff to get high. Okay, this is a wellness. This is for medication. Listen, you guys, we're talking about reducing pain and inflammation. They sent me a bunch of samples, by the way, and I have a bad knee and I play tennis, and I put that on after I was playing tennis, and it helps out a lot. Reducing stress, promoting well-being, improving mood, improving sleep, and more. And not only that, but Boomer Natural Wellness has CBD products for your pets also. So, I mean, we're talking about treats, oils for their coat. It's just, natural for them to digest and for their digestion, for their coat, and just happy, anxiety-free life. Anyway, don't take my word for it. Go check it out yourself at boomernaturalwellness.com. And if you want, you can use the promo code LittleD20 and get 20% off your order. All right, you guys. That's our only sponsor today. So it was new, so they go solo. Okay, that's what happens when you're the new one. You go solo, you're the star of the show. So we want to thank Boomer for being our sponsors here at the Homeschool Podcast. So I'm here with our guest Felicia Michaels. Very happy to have you on, and Kevin Lyons, my co-host, is here.
Hey, everybody.
And this is the Homeschool Podcast. I'm Augustino Zoida. Let's do this.
Please take your seats. School is now in session.
Homeschool Podcast. Homeschool.
The Homeschool Podcast. Why? Because he was homeschooled.
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I don't want to do that at all. All right, it's the Homeschool Podcast. Thank you guys for being here. Felicia, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you're here. I've been wanting to have you on for a really long time, and I'm glad.
Really?
Yeah. I think we talked about it. I don't know if you remember, 2 years ago when you were doing Oxnard, you were featuring and I was emceeing, and Joey was headlining.
Right.
And I remember we talked about it that day, and then we just never really did it. And then I did yours the other day, and I'm glad that I did that, because it put us back in touch and brought up having you on again. And not only that, but your podcast is extremely fun.
Oh, thank you.
It's I'll go out and say that it is the most fun I've ever had on a podcast.
Are you serious?
Because I have fun on podcasts, but I like going on podcasts and being serious. I like going on podcasts and talking about subjects that really matter and people get to know you.
Right.
But this was just the most fun I've ever had on a podcast. This is I've never been on a game show, but you always kind of fantasize about being on a game show.
Right.
And it felt like that.
Well, it's a podcast and a secret game show. It's called The Liars Club. And the thing about The Liars Club is we have our comedy pals come on. We ask them to tell two stories. One is a truth, one is a lie. And you learn more about someone when they lie to you than when they tell you the truth. You know what I mean? No, seriously, sometimes we know a lot of comedians. I'll be introduced to someone that Jessica knows that I've never met, and to meet a total stranger and see how they tell two different stories.
Yeah.
And see how they lie or are dodgy or quick on their feet or today we had two emotional guests. And
really?
So yeah, when they told their stories, and it was so ridiculous and funny.
Did they cry?
Oh, they were just very serious, yeah. And it was the most ridiculous stories too, yeah. So, but thank you for doing it. It was.
It's so fun. I've also never been so nervous to do a podcast.
Why?
Because you have to create a story that's not true at all.
Right.
And not only that, but I feel like everyone's judging you. I felt like I was going to court.
Oh, yeah. We get serious about it. Yeah.
It feels like an interrogation, because I listened to a few episodes before.
We interrogate. Yeah.
They're interrogating, and I feel like, even my true story, they were going to attack me on. And I just felt, because they're going to call you on it.
Right.
And of course, your true story, you got the answer. But your fake one, you have the answer too. But in your mind, anyway, I had a strategy.
Okay. What was your strategy?
Because I was nervous, my strategy was to do my real story first. Because either way, I was going to be nervous. And you might hear me being nervous.
Right.
And
yeah.
the first story, I was going to be more nervous than the second. So I'll do my real story first because I'll sound more nervous on that one.
Okay.
That was my strategy. So maybe you guys wouldn't know.
Well, today we had DC Irvin on, and he told his
Love
first
DC.
story. He's an awesome guy, and he told his first story, and our on-air producer, Austin was like, your lip was quivering, and it's like you would think, because it was kind of an emotional story in its own weird way, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that I guess it's your first story, your lip would kind of quiver, but then my take was, when you're lying to someone and it's going so good and you just can't contain it,
Yeah.
that you're trying not to laugh. I think that's what it was, and for sure that's what it was. You know what I mean? Anyway, so.
Yeah, I had fun. It was
good. Good.
We were just talking before the show started. I thought you were from here, but you're not. You're originally from somewhere else. But you've
I'm an
lived here a
Army
long
brat.
time.
Yeah, I've lived off and on in Los Angeles for a very long time, but I'm an Army brat, so I grew up a little bit everywhere.
So kind of what year did you, or how old were you when you moved here?
Well, I grew up off and on. My dad was stationed in Fort Ord when he did his tour of duty in Vietnam and stuff like that. And then I graduated high school. I came here when I was like 17, and I graduated high school in a continuation school here in Los Angeles, and that joyous fun. And then I moved away, and then I came back about 3 years later. And so since about the age of 20, I've been here hardcore, other than in New York for a few years doing comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been doing it a while, huh?
Comedy, yeah. I was made a regular at the Comedy Store in 1985.
Wow.
And fuck you both.
Isn't it kind of great? Like I love Adam.
Uh-huh.
Like the talent coordinator from the
Right.
store. There was a time I feel like at the store that if a booker didn't book you, if a talent coordinator didn't give you spots or didn't put you up over there, give you a chance, you just hated him. You just went like, man, fuck that guy.
Right.
That was your attitude. That's anybody's attitude when anybody doesn't book you.
Right, pretty much.
But with Adam, like I don't really get spots from him. I have in the past. It wasn't really from him, and I just love him. Like I just still love what he does. Like you can't be mad at someone that takes like people that you idolize and brings them all together.
Oh, yeah.
And people that didn't go there
Yeah.
until he got there. He kind of brings them all together. It's the strongest club in the world.
It is right now for sure, 100%. And I have to say that, when after being around for so long, when you see, comedians be all over a booker, imagine that. All the fucking creepy ass, icky, desperate, cool,
It's gotta be the worst
funny
now.
energy that he must get from everybody.
Yeah.
It's gotta be so overwhelming. Like people used to say mean things about Mitzi Shore, but it's like, man, look at you fucks. Why wouldn't she be mean to you? Fuck you. You're annoying and you're coked up, and get away, creepy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think you got to cut people slack. But I stay out of Adam's way, just like I stayed out of Mitzi's way. Because I feel bad. I feel bad when
I do too.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that.
Yeah, I can't.
People tell me that it probably hurts me.
I think it helps. I don't know.
Because I'm not as aggressive as I should be, probably.
Right. I don't have a problem asking certain people,
Mm-hmm.
but other people, it's just like, I'm happy to still be doing spots there.
Yeah.
I should just shut the fuck up and worry about my own things.
That's the other reason that I like him, is that like as much as he has like the hottest comics in town there all the time, you were passed in 1985 and like you still do spots there, Yeah,
I went through a long period where I didn't do spots there. And this is what gets me. It's like, it's so weird when you're a young comic and you're doing comedy and you go through your angry phase. I hate to be boring like this about comedy, but you go through your angry phase, you go through your hopeful phase, and you go through the fuck this phase, and then you go through like, I'm back, bitches, and you're crawling up the mountain phase. And the thing is, I heard from a lot of people, because I had quit for a while when I had kids, and then I come back, and the old guys my age would be complaining about, man, how'd you do that? How'd you get this? And it's like, yeah, you gotta fucking
You gotta go
show
after it.
up. I go and I hang out at the open mics and try to make the young guys laugh. You know what I mean? Like the young
they're
guns.
expecting that
Yeah.
they've paid their dues and they're just gonna wait for it all to come to them. You think?
Well, I just think there is a feeling of that a little bit, like like I get a lot of super late spots. But then when I'm on at 1:15 and I'm the last person on the show and there's 4 other guys waiting to sign up to go on after me, like
Yeah.
and those guys are doing TV, you know what I mean, and everything. You're like, no, I'm should be very happy to be here and just understand the blessing that I have, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've noticed that you get really late spots. What
Yeah.
do you do like 2 or 3 a week, or?
Sometimes, yeah. But then I was just at Oxnard Levity,
Yeah.
and it was the first time I'd had like a second or third spot on the show. And when you get those late night spots, it's really great for your comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But because you have to learn how to keep a positive attitude.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to like not defeat yourself with like the door guys have all seen this material before. Blah,
Oh,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it's all about, I'm going to do my act and I'm just going to block out all distractions and I'm going to see how good I can do it. Other times it's like, I'm not going to do any joke and fuck y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when you get that second or third spot on a regular show, it's banana cakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you see all the work come out.
We just see, yeah, exactly.
So I can see that easily getting in your head when you're doing late spots a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And you should just give it your all, but I would constantly be worried about like the door guys have seen me do this set over and over
Yes,
again.
That's the biggest thing, right? That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
I always think that like when you go in there, especially at a place like the store, you got to go in there to like bring new heat. Because the other comics, especially the door guys, they're always like this is a tough situation you're in. Let's see how he handles it.
Right.
And maybe you'll kill it the first week, but then the next week you're gonna do the same thing. I always feel like in their heads you're gonna go, he did the same act as last week.
Right.
You know, he ain't shit. He's
No, it can really sabotage you. But then that's why it's so important to sit and love and watch comedy too, even as a comic. Because then I go in early and I watch, like the 5 guys before me, and then you see a guy like Kurt Metzger, who is like a fucking genius.
Yeah.
And then he's doing some of the same jokes.
Yeah.
That he did last week and and 3 nights last week.
I mean,
you know
they
what
all do
like,
it.
Everyone, it's a normal thing, but you get it.
I saw Sebastian 2 weeks in a row. He's doing the same shit, and it's like that's how they got it so good. And those guys are pumping out a special every year.
Right.
Like they gotta work, keep working material,
Right.
and it's our own insecurity. Like everyone does it.
Absolutely.
The same joke over again, but
Yeah.
it's our own insecurity. Like, oh man, there's only a couple people here, and these guys are all judging me.
Right.
When you go early and you watch like the 5 before you,
Uh-huh.
is it like people clear it out by then too?
No, there's still people there, but it's to be able to be in the original room at the Comedy Store and imagine I was 21 years old when I was made a regular at the Comedy Store.
Wow.
And I remember being in the original room when I first got in. I'd been doing comedy off and on maybe like a year and a half, off and on, and I got to see Pryor come in on a Tuesday night and do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And Tuesday, he would come and do all new material, and it was bad. You would be like, what? You know what I mean? And then he would walk the crowd, some of the crowd. And then he would come back Wednesday, and it was like, well, I mean, I guess if you still want to pound on that subject, whatever, but not as bad, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe 1 or 2 people leave. And then Thursday, he would come in, and you're like, well, all right, I see where you're going with that, and then no one would leave. And then by Friday, it was fucking smooth as butter. You know what I mean?
Wow.
What a huge lesson in comedy. And then to be on the other side of my career where I come in and I see guys like Fahim Anwar come in and fucking kill it with new material all the time. And he's very physical comic, very funny comic. But just to come in and see how different people get to work it and to judge it against the great Pryor is pretty fucking
For sure.
cool. It's exciting. I know as a young comic, when you're watching comedy, you're gonna be like, oh, when I'm an old comic, how fucking sad is that gonna be? But then when you're been at it for a while, you fucking appreciate every little crevice of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to be that person.
No, not at all. Please, that's what I like to hear on here, and I love hearing stories and just. That's so. I can't believe you're 21 years old and you're watching Pryor work out all the time. It's insane.
And here's the crazy part. right before I started comedy, my dad was a movie projectionist, and he worked at the Mann's Chinese Theater, so he worked for Mann's Theater, and his job was to go all over the country and to swap out old equipment with new equipment, you know. And I was living in Colorado, and my dad was working a theater in Denver, and he was switching out gear, and the movie they were playing was Live on Sunset.
Wow.
And I didn't even have an idea that I was going to do stand-up yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just remember sitting in this old cool-ass theater watching Pryor, and my dad's tinkering away in the projectionist booth, and then to think, like, within 2 years later, I was a regular at the Comedy Store, and I got to watch Pryor's. You know, it was
Live,
pretty,
yeah.
like, mind-blowing.
That day that you saw Pryor at the theater with your father,
Uh-huh.
was that the moment that you decided you wanted to start?
To be a comedian?
Mhm.
No. When I was 18 years old, I was a stripper, and on the first night that I did a wet t-shirt contest, I met this comedian, and at this club called the Peppermint Lounge in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and then we started dating. I won the contest, by the way, $500.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like $1,500 back in the day. That's
Yeah.
how much $500 was worth. And then we started dating, and then within 6 months of dating him, I started doing comedy, and it was on a dare,
To do a comedy?
just to try. I was just gonna try it once,
Wow.
just to tell him "fuck you."
Do you ever, like now, get scared? Because listen, like, you like you said, you are thankful to be at the Comedy Store right now, and
Right.
those late spots, because you've probably I know of guys, and you've probably seen a lot of guys that started there in the 80s also that don't really get spots anymore.
Absolutely.
There's a ton that
Yeah.
they just kind of weeded out, and we're like, listen, we know you're past, but you're not really.
Right, and they're also doing other things.
They're doing other
you
things
know,
too, but.
writing or
So do you ever
whatever,
get
yeah.
afraid? Because I don't want to say that the store is competitive. It is, but that's not the word I want to use. I want to
Uh-huh.
say that, like, you have to be. You're thankful for what you have. Do you ever get afraid to try new things there?
No, not so much. Not so much. No, because when you're doing late spots, you know, like, people are pretty supportive.
Mm.
So not so much there, no.
And the management, you think, is all sitting in there watching that late?
I think those late spots are meant to be, you know, for you to work on what direction you should
Yeah.
be going in, or a change of directions,
Yeah.
you know.
That's
Yeah. But
yeah.
when I did like a friends and family like a year ago. It took, you know, I had quit comedy for like 9 years, got back in. I was doing comedy about 8 or 9 years again, and I was doing a lot of you know, open mics, and I was working the road a little bit and traveling, and I had kids, and my kids are finally graduated. But I started the podcast with Jessica, and we'd sneak around
Mhm.
the Comedy Store. And then I just got on a Friends and Family show on a Monday night, like tonight. And I just had like a miraculous 4-minute set.
And then they're just like.
And then it happened, you know what I mean? But it was also like hanging around,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, even though I'm not performing there, you still go hang out there, hang out with your friends, watch your friends, because you got to meet people.
You gotta be
still.
in it. You gotta be
Yeah.
in the heart of it.
Yeah.
What was it like taking going? Well, you said it was 8 or 9 years break that you took.
Yeah.
Why was it that long, and what made you want to come back? Like,
The first part of my career was very busy, and I had a lot of good fortune in the first part of my career. I had like 3 or 4 development deals. I had a pilot made. I had one Star Search, which is, you know, like America's Got Talent
Yeah.
or something of the day. And I was doing about 35 weeks a year on the road. I did a lot of TV, and I did 35 weeks a year for a good solid decade. And I just, you know, when you have to do the road to make your act better, but you can ruin your act by doing too much of the road. I'm not saying anything no one's heard before.
Yeah.
But it just made me so angry and bitter, and I wanted kids. And so when I had my second son came, then I was like, you know, it's time now to take a break, because it's like, what do you have your decisions to make. And so once I got out of like elementary school and I got divorced, and I was like, what am I going to do now? And I just thought I should try it again. And I never thought I would do it ever again. Not even once. I didn't even turn on TV to watch
Really?
comedy. Yeah, I was like, fuck comedy. I was
You just
pretty
thought
mad.
you were out.
I'm fucking out, you bitches. Fuck y'all.
Wow.
Yeah, and my ex-husband at the time, my husband was a entertainment manager. So, the thing that we had most in common, suddenly I wasn't participating in anymore. You know what I mean?
Did that hurt the marriage?
Yeah, I would say so, because you just get so like, and I had kids. It's like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like every story, you know what I mean? So it's, it's nothing
But would he have
original.
like comedy stories when he comes home? Every husband's got some talk about his day.
Yeah,
Did it make you
yeah.
feel like you kind of missed it?
It made me feel like a little bit like, fuck comedy. You know what I
Like
mean?
even more?
But no, not mad at what he's saying, but just like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause I was so mad at comedy. But it also like, did I make the right decision? There's a little bit of a ping, even though I never thought I would do it again. Because coming back the second time, when you quit comedy for a good long chunk of time and you come back, it's more frightening to go on
man.
stage the first time after you've quit, because
I'll bet.
like if you just do comedy the first time, you're afraid, oh, I could eat a big dick on stage, but you don't know what it's like to feel like you're eating a big dick on stage. But the second time,
You know what it feels
you
like.
know exactly what it feels like, and that
So you
was
were-
frightening. That was so frightening.
When you first start, you figure you have a little hope that I might be good.
Right, yeah, I know.
Well, what was that first set like? That first set back? Do you remember how that went?
Yeah, Dante,
Which Dante?
the comic Dante and Rebecca.
Not the Asian one.
No.
The Italian guy, Dante.
Yeah, Dante,
yeah.
Dante used to have this gig at the Canoga Bowl, which was this bowling alley in Canoga Park, and way the fuck out. And
I never did the one. I knew of it. Like when I first
Right.
started, it was around.
Right, so it was in the like little lounge area of the bowling alley. But as you're doing your comedy, you hear the bowlers, like it's a fucking bowling alley.
It'd be awesome if
Yeah.
it strike right at like a really good punchline.
Yeah, that's the crickets. It was just the strike.
Right. And so I did it there, and I was so fucking nervous because
That was your first set back. Was at the bowling alley.
at the bowling alley. And here's the thing too, it's like, when you're a young person in your 20s and you're doing comedy, right, and the material that you do at 20 is different than the material you do at 40. You know what I mean? Like, can you sell the material you did at 20? You know what I mean? So it was like, no, I had this rule, like, it has to all be new material or I'm a sad fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it was literally like that. So it was
I would have
kinda
felt the same
frightening.
way.
Yeah,
That's a good rule.
Yeah, because you start to think as you get older, do I have any value in what I'm saying? It's like when you do those late nights at the Comedy Store, and there's like 6, millennial dudes half drunk, and you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
someone's mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to find a way to be able to connect. And when you haven't done it for a long time, you're like, wow, can I connect with like an average person now? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And 9 years is a big gap. Like
That's a big gap. Yeah.
I'm obviously not doing a joke I did 9 years ago. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like that would just seem so weird to me.
Right.
I'm so glad you did that. That you told yourself don't do it.
Yeah.
That because you took 9 years off and you come back and be like, so Clinton.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No shit. Yeah.
But
now, like, once I've done 3 CDs since then. Now, like, every once in a while, I'm like, oh, I forgot about this joke. Or Ron White came up to me about a couple weeks ago, and he's like, man, you used to have this joke about blah blah blah, and I was like, I had that joke. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
But then there's that too.
You forget.
You have jokes that were good and you forget, and now you're gonna do them, and they may not work because you're a
Yeah.
different you now.
Right.
But you'll figure out how to make it work now, and
Yeah.
it's probably gonna end up being better.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, for sure. Maybe not though.
I feel like when did you go back? Because I feel like since I started, you've always been there. I never
Right.
even knew you took a break.
Yeah, when I took it when Joey and I first started doing the podcast. We did a podcast for a while.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, and when I probably did comedy like a year before that.
What was that? 2009
Maybe. Yes, maybe.
or
yeah.
10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I started in 2009,
Yeah.
and then I met Joey like a year later.
So it must have been right around that time.
Yeah, and when I
Yeah.
met him, he was like he just stopped doing the podcast with you when I first met him.
Okay, yeah.
He was like in the middle of him meeting Lee.
Right. Right.
Good times.
Yeah.
I see. I need to start writing stuff down. Do you write stuff down? Like your
s-
jokes?
You know, I am. I just put them up on Facebook just so I can
Really?
reference them. Yeah. Just
Like
so
you
I'm-
post it?
Yeah. Because if it gets a good response, you're like, oh, maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about the other day. Is like I used to never write stuff down because
Uh-huh.
I just would remember it.
Right.
And I just forget everything now. I'm like,
Well,
You gotta
even
start
in the
writing it
beginning, I
down.
didn't write stuff down, and sometimes I remember there was this comic named Jeff Wayne, and he used to have this club out in the valley. And one time I was like, "Hey, you remember that joke I did about like the car seat belt?" And he was like, "Fucking write your shit down, dumbass." And then after that, I was like, "I better write my shit
yeah.
down."
Or put a tape recorder on, I guess.
Right,
That's what you
right.
should do. I never remember to do that
Right,
right before you go
yeah.
on stage. I'm not thinking
Yeah,
about
you
that.
know who puts a tape recorder all the time
Who?
down? Every successful comic.
Hilarious.
I'm totally serious.
Yeah. Okay, listen. I get obviously you wanted to have kids.
Uh-huh.
You're a mother. I get the break.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand the anger towards comedy. Like fuck comedy. Where did that come? Why it was
Well, what's the most you've ever been on the road in one
the
year?
longest?
No, just how many weeks have you ever been in
Like a week.
a year?
Oh. No, I thought you meant like how long are you away?
No.
I mean, I don't know. I don't
What's the year you had that you worked the most on the road, and how many weeks do you think in that year?
I'd have to say it's so hard for me to think about it. I don't know. 12 weeks, probably
Right.
more.
Right. So I was doing 35 weeks a year for a decade. 35. I once did 10 weeks in a row. You know, and I was kind of a lightweight. Like people back then, and it was like a Tuesday through Sunday gig or Wednesday through Sunday gig. Like now it's like, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so you can bring your friends. Then it was you were on your own. You know what I mean? You didn't bring your pals to go on the road. It was just you. And then think about the fact that how many women were on the road in 1990? Not very many.
Yeah.
It was very lonely. It was exhausting. I was always on an airplane 35 weeks a year for a decade. I lived in New York City for 9 years during that decade of going on the road 35 weeks a year. I didn't know the left side the east side from
Yeah,
the west side
'cause you were never
because
there.
I was never there. And you know, spending money for an apartment in New York. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and you get to the point where it's not helping your act because you're just so sick of saying it. You know what I mean? And back then, there wasn't like a lot of different outlets where you could put your comedy on YouTube and IGTV and Facebook. You know what I mean? It was, you could ride that act for like half a decade. You could have an hour and that thing would last for 5-7 years.
You wouldn't be throwing new
yeah.
stuff in on the road?
You wouldn't be, you know, like a lot of people, there were topical comics that were topical comics, like Argus Hamilton's a very topical comic,
Yeah.
right? But for a lot of people that were on the road constantly, it's like, why don't I just write an act that I can keep in my pocket
Yeah.
for 5 to 7 years? Why am I going to write a joke that I'm just going to throw away?
Would you do sets when you came home?
Yeah.
New York?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you ever get grief, or did you feel weird about doing because you go back and they're like, she's been gone for 6 months and she's doing the same act again?
Well, I would feel grief in that at the time there weren't a lot of women doing comedy, in that there were some, but you weren't allowed to be dirty, dirty. So
If you were a woman?
yeah, I got angry too because I got a lot of grief for that.
Wow.
I got a lot of fucking grief for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't really think of a clean female comic.
I know. It's awesome, right?
Right?
We can say what you guys say.
There's tons of male clean comics.
Uh-huh,
I don't know,
yeah.
I can't think of any female comic who's clean. Like
Really?
Ellen? But even she wasn't
Erica
clean.
Rhodes? Erica Rhodes is hilarious. She's totally
Yeah.
clean.
No, she's funny. I never
Janelle
really
James,
thought about her
totally
like that way.
clean. Lori Kilmartin, totally clean.
Right, I know
Jackie
Lori.
Cation, totally clean.
But I mean, they're cursing.
No, not that much.
Yeah, I guess not that
Those
much.
guys do TV sets.
For today, it's not
Yeah,
that much, right? Yeah.
What about from like the 80s and 90s getting booked on spots as a young comic compared to what it's like coming back battling, this new generation of the comedy boom?
Right. Well, you're not battling them.
Yeah.
Because you've learned your lesson.
Yeah.
Although that'd be a great
You
show
embrace
also.
it. Yeah, you embrace them. You know what I mean? When I first became a regular at the Comedy Store, I was 21. What were you guys doing at 21? At 21 years old, I didn't recognize how much of a gift that was. I was grateful. It took me out of being a stripper, and so that's all I was, a stripper and then a stand-up comedian. So I was grateful that I was in that position, and within 2 years of being at the Comedy Store, I was working in Vegas like once every 6 weeks on a rotation. I never had to have a job.
That's great.
And I understood that I was fortunate, but I didn't understand at the same time how fortunate that I was. I understand, it's a weird thing. Like, I had this experience where I got to work as an assistant director on Mitch Hedberg's only feature that he made. And when you're in the middle of doing stuff like that, right, when you're working on projects like this and you're in the San Fernando Valley and it's 100 degrees outside in a garage with no air conditioner, and you're just going through it. You don't think all about it and think how important this part of your life is, that you're building something. And to be a young person also in that same situation, like when I was his assistant director on his film and sleeping in a halfway house in a hallway in a sleeping bag, you don't recognize how fortunate you really are. You know what I mean? You just want to get it done. You want to be creative, but you're not understanding that this might be the highlight of your life. And then to go through the experience of having someone like Mitch Hedberg pass away, and the next day to go to Starbucks to get a coffee, and they always write like quotes, you know what I mean, by different famous authors or Voltaire or whatever, and they're writing a Mitch Hedberg quote. And to think, I'm walking amongst giants. I might not ever be the best comic, or I might just be a stepping stone, and my biggest fortune is that I get to walk amongst giants. And that's a blessing in itself. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's very cool that when I think about like how fortunate I am, the guys I know and I work with, and I don't even think of them as anything other than like friends.
Right.
Very fortunate, and then you look up to them as an artist, of course, too, and aspire to be like that. I mean, I have and do appreciate it, but very rarely you just get too used to stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't really like stop and think like, wow, like there's people who aren't in my shoes that wish they were.
Yeah, no shit.
There's always someone looking at the other one like, I wish I had that, you know?
And the thing about comedy too, it's not just about, am I funny enough to hang out with these giants, but am I capable of hanging out with these giants? Am I capable?
That's the biggest question.
Yeah, because a lot of people are funny young people, but they can't hang out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't want to be around. So that's just as an important thing.
Oh, that's a huge part of it.
And, yeah. Like when I was in my early 20s and I started, Judd Apatow was one of the comics, and Judd Apatow would go up to anyone and hang out and shake a hand, and I was like, fucking, because I'm cool Comedy Store chick, and I was all like, look at that ass kiss, look at him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you get older, and then you realize that's how you do business, you dumb fuck. That's how you do it. That guy was a genius for being able to be funny, right, and to shake people's hand.
Yeah.
And know how not to be an annoyance. That's a huge thing.
See, that's why I think that like I don't like to bother people, but I do think that sometimes I could be a little more aggressive.
Right. Yeah.
And just a little.
It's hard though. It's
It
so
is.
hard.
There's a fine line between, blending in with everybody else who loiters,
right,
and then just being like, sometimes you look at people and you just feel their content, like you feel their, what's the word, like what their will is, like you can feel what they plan on doing or why you're here,
right,
if they have a hidden agenda or if they just really are hanging,
right,
you can feel it. I mean, there's certain guys like you said, like you bring guys on the road with you because you can get along with them.
Right.
You know, and you enjoy their company. And, you know, you got to find that, like, balance of...
For sure.
I don't want him to think I'm coming up here to say hi just because he can book me for something.
For sure, yeah.
Like, I just am friendly anyway.
It's like a podcast partner, Jessica, she will stand next to the devil to ask him to come do our show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she will. And one time we were in the back of everyone, you know, the back bar where all the comics go. And Joe Rogan was sitting there, and it just so happened where, you know, we were sitting at the same table. And then Jessica in front, everyone's like, Joe Rogan, come do our podcast. And I was like, shut the fuck.
What did he say?
No, he just was like, well, you know, like, look away. But I was so embarrassed. I had to, like, I stood up and I walked by him. I'm like, I'm very sorry about that, but that's why she's my podcast partner. You know what I mean? But you have to, if you can't be a person like that, you should partner up with a person
funny.
like that. You know,
I always go in my head.
Yeah, I get embarrassed.
I go like, I go in my head, Rogan's going to go, oh, another guy asked me to do his podcast. Yes. So I just wouldn't do it.
Which was the look when she asked him.
I think too much in their point of view rather than mine. Like, he's going to look at me like this.
Right.
You know, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I get all freaked out.
Yeah.
I mean, even with Monday nights, you know, the potluck night, you know, I don't get up there like that much, but I once every 3 months, it seems like now. And in the beginning, I was like never saying anything. I would just go down there and sit and hope that they were going to come up to me and, hey, bro, you want to go up? Like, when does that happen?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I eventually started just, you know, emailing them before if you find out who's hosting.
Right.
And you just go like, hey, man, I know you're busy. A lot of guys going to bother you tonight. If you got room, I'm sitting there between 9 and 10. Because between 8 and 9, you're getting up all the door guys.
Right.
And between 10 and 11 is paid regulars. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have like between 9 and 10. If you get all the door guys up in time, I'm going to be sitting there. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? I started doing that. Like, I'm not going to come up to you and bother you. And if you can't, maybe the next time you host, you know what I mean? I just started doing that, which doesn't seem to be working. But what it does do is it makes me not feel like an asshole.
Right.
Or like I'm bothering them.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of putting myself out. And then when they walk by me, they know. Like, they'll wink and be like, they got my email earlier. Like,
right.
Bro, I'm right here if you need me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bother you, though.
Yeah.
And at 10 o'clock, I'm going back to my car.
Right.
You know?
No, you have to do that.
Once you see Fraser Smith take over, you're like, my chances are over. I'm out of here.
But you have to do that. You have to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to show your face, even in front of everybody, even if it's just, you know, the manager of the club or the ticket guy, or, you know what I mean? Like, the hardest part coming back the second time was having people stop me and not understand that I had been a comic and I had a good career, and you can't go, my like, name's on the wall, bro. You can't do that. You can't do that, even though you're standing like right fucking underneath your name. Like,
that door guy's gonna end up being Mark Maron one day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
it's so true.
Yeah,
like,
it's so true.
And they're gonna always remember that girl was a bitch.
Right? Yeah. Of course.
Absolutely. You know, I always had this. I want to call it like a stigma, or I don't know. It was my own baggage that I thought, because I'm not a regular at the store, not only paid regularly. I mean, I'm not even like a clique with a lot of those groups. You know,
you're friends with Joey, though.
I'm friends with Joey, and if I can be real, I won't give names. There is some fake motherfuckers in these cliques. Okay, like when I'm there with Joey, I'm everybody's best friend.
Right.
When I'm not there with Joey, they pretend they never met me before in their life.
Right.
To the point where
you can't get mad about that. You can't get mad. See, that's one of the things that you can't let eat at you.
I mean, it's not a disrespect to me as much as it's a respect for Joey, that it's like his friend,
right.
so we're gonna treat him like.
That's exactly right.
Right.
You know, like I was saying, when I came back the second time and was around the store, it's, you know what I mean? First of all, I'm older than everybody, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And that's creepy, and you know what I mean? Well, at first it's like, you know what?
I don't think
like,
they thought that.
No, there's some people that were like, "What the," you know, and But the most important thing was just showing my face there all the time. You know what I mean? And you can't take it personal. That's the best part of being married to an entertainment manager is you can't take shit personal. Like, people be like, oh, I emailed this guy and he didn't email me back. Fuck that guy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that guy probably got literally 150 emails today.
Yeah.
He's trying to put out the first most 10 important fires. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be mad at that person for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's other things to be mad at. And even maybe you have to put yourself in front of him in some fucked up situation 100 times before he says hello. But so what? You can't let... And I learned that because I got angry. And I got so angry I had to leave. You know what I mean? Like, because it was eating me up. And now I see the experience that so many other people went through, and also through my ex-husband, where I'm just like, you can't... I tell Jessica that all the time, where she's like, "Rrr," and I'm like, you just fucking relax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't know. Like, for me, I have friends that book a lot of stuff, and so I pass on names all the time. If I'm doing it, that means almost everybody's passing up names. Because if you pass up a name, let's say if I said to if I knew someone at, Just for Laughs or something, and I passed your name to that person, and for 3 years in a row, and then finally he's like, fuck, I'll go look at that person. You know what I mean? If I'm doing it, how many other people are doing it?
To the same person.
To the same person.
Yeah.
And I've had people say to me, and fuck so and so. They pretend like they don't know me, even though like a year ago at another festival they were like, you're the best. And at the same, this person gets so angry at another person, and I'm friends with the other person, and the other person's like, yeah, it was very interesting. I just want to see him do 3 more sets. And then this person is twisting him up in some projected bullshit that's not even going on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that.
Sorry, I'm that person.
I think you're completely right, and
It's hard though.
It is hard. And then there's some people that I feel a direct disrespect. Just like, you ever be standing having a conversation and somebody come up and says hi to the other one, not upset at that,
Right.
but they turn their back to you. Don't you think that's like the worst thing ever? I think that's like super disrespectful. Like you and I are having a conversation,
Right.
and Kevin walks up and he knows you, but he don't know me.
Right.
I'm used to people not having manners. I personally say hi to Felicia,
Right.
and then if you were talking to Fraser Smith, I go like, hey, let's say I don't know Fraser, I go, hey, nice to meet you. Sorry to interrupt.
Right.
And then leave you guys alone.
Right.
People don't do that, and I know that.
You're well raised.
That I just know that people don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
Kevin, so you're gonna walk right up to Kevin, say hi to him,
but
and completely ignore the person he's talking to.
I agree 100%, but two
No,
things,
but I'm
two
expecting
things can
that.
be right at the same time. Like, you are 100% correct, but maybe you don't know what else is going on. Maybe that person was sent to go get that person because someone didn't show up in the room.
But I'm okay
But I
with
see
that.
what you're saying. I
no,
totally
no.
understand
But there's
what you're
more.
saying.
I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
But when I'm sitting there talking to like the other day, me and Schubert were talking in the hallway at the store, and somebody came up and said, everybody knows Schubert, and I actually know this person for years too. And they come up and just literally like just wedged between us back
really?
to me.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
but same person when Joey's around, I'm the best friend
Right,
again.
right.
It's just, but you're right. You don't know what's going on in there. They have their own stigmas too.
Right.
And so one of the stigmas that I have that I walk around with, or I had for a long time, is that when I would go to the store, I wouldn't really say hi to anyone. Even though we knew each other, but we're not friends. We're acquaintances.
Right.
I would walk by them and they don't say hi to me. And so I just don't say hi back, right?
Right.
And it just becomes a part of it. You becomes like, they're these people and I'm these people and we don't talk.
But let me ask you this: why don't you say hi? Is it because you're shy? Is it that you think, oh, they really won't remember me?
In my head, the stigma is that they don't want me to say hi because I'm not like a part of their clique.
Oh, really?
And I'm gonna I think I'm blending in like another comic who shows up and like, hey, I want to try to be a part of this and annoy everybody. I feel like they might look at me like that, so I just and I also feel like there's guys I've known a really long time, like we've never hung out socially, but there's guys that still do it that I was at the same open mic when we started, and like it's so weird that I've known these guys for 10 years and we just walk by each other,
Right.
and it's my own thing inside that I just go like I don't know what it is.
Maybe they're having the same feelings you're having.
Right.
Yeah.
But I recently stopped. And when I stopped? I stopped when Brody passed away. The day after Brody passed away, we went to the store. And I got there like a little early before the show started. On a weekend. there's nothing really going on, in the hallways are empty. And I started running into all these guys that were just walking by, and everyone looked like they needed to talk.
Right.
Or to have like a hug or shake hands or acknowledgement. And then I started talking to people that I walk by every day, and we never actually spoke. And then you say, like, how are you doing? And they had something to say. Everybody was hurting. You know, everybody was like, man, I was just trying to get through, the pain or whatever, or the day.
Right.
And then we would just talk for a little bit. And then that kind of broke the ice for me. From now on, I just go up to people and say hello.
Right.
And if they don't want to say hello, that's fine. But I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't bother them. I don't ask people for anything.
Right.
I just say, hey, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
And I found that, some really good people, they'll stop and they'll talk to you, and you can see in their eyes they really appreciated like a conversation.
Oh yeah.
Especially the door guys or the comics that just hang out there forever hoping that something's gonna happen. Like people just, what's up, man? Hey, man, you know what I mean? Drink a beer. Blah, blah, blah. But when you actually stop and go like, how are you doing? And you listen to what they have to say, and you're concerned about it. And then the next time you remember, how was that thing you were telling me about?
Right.
Or I'll hit them up the next day on Facebook. Hey, man, I was thinking about what you told me. Like, hang in there, something like that. Like, people are actually like, oh, dude, like, they don't expect it from you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you think, oh, like for me, when I don't talk to other people, it's all like, oh, they won't remember my name, or maybe they don't think I'm funny, or And then what helped me was Joe Rogan, because I would always I would see everyone, and especially because I quit for 9 years, and a lot of people that started at the same time that I started, their careers have been gone banana cakes, and I'm still fucking, you know what I mean, doing them open mics and doing all that kind, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I feel a little embarrassed of the choices I've made sometimes in comedy, and I won't think that people remember me, or I feel shy, or don't want to annoy them. And then a couple of times I was walking through the back kitchen at the comedy store, and Joe Rogan would be like, hey, and I'd be like, oh, hey, Joe. And he would actually grab me and be like, drag me into the circle, and make me talk, and it was realizing it's really dumb that I'm being that way. It's so dumb. Why am I being that way? That's my bullshit.
And I couldn't even explain to you right now when I was trying to why I did it. It's just I also don't know why I'm being that way. Yeah. It's something that I'm carrying around. It's my own baggage that I got to get rid of.
Yeah.
Constantly worry that people aren't gonna like me, or maybe not even like me, that I'm gonna annoy them, or I'm gonna blend in with everyone else.
Yeah. Or they don't like my comedy.
Yeah.
Or they think I'm a hack or a has-been.
People already forget my name all the time.
Well, you have an unusual name.
Yeah. But I also get people not remembering that they met me before. That happens. I mean, you roll it off. Right. It gets annoying, but I just stopped carrying around that baggage, and I just say hi to everyone. And I try not to embarrass people. When you go like, oh, nice to meet you, you go, we met before. I don't like to embarrass people that, So I just started. So now I just take the upper hand, and I just go, nice to see you again, before they have a chance to say anything. But at the same time, I feel like that's on me. Maybe I should work at being more memorable.
What the fuck does that even mean?
If I'm so easily forgotten.
No, I think it's just you meet a lot of people. If you're doing comedy, think about all the fucking faces you see all the time.
But that's exactly what stand-up comedy is. There's a lot of stand-up comics, and we just have to be the remembered ones to stand out. That's how you make it.
Yeah. Well,
so I don't know. Maybe I'm not memorable. Maybe I need
to. I don't know.
How do I become more memorable? That's what I'm thinking is funny. That's just weird. How do I keep
my integrity and become more memorable? That's a fucking...
Yeah, because, I can, streak and get banned, but you'll remember me.
Right, for sure. Hilarious.
Remember that guy that streaked? Anyway, let me read some shout-outs, and then we will wrap up. How are we doing on time, Kev?
50 minutes.
Okay, good. We can wrap up. I want to give a shout-out to The Real Heeds Up, Matt the Cat 330, and who is this? Is it VB3380? All right, you guys with your Instagram names. Uncle Ed, my dude Ed Norton. Thanks for the support, man. And C Barth 4 23. Those are the shout outs for this episode, you guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and thank you, Felicia, for coming on today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for asking me. It means a lot. And now
sitting in
I
the
will
sauna
give you
here with us.
eye contact every time in the fucking hallway of the comedy
Yeah.
store. But I would like to say, anybody that has Amazon Prime, that I have a documentary that I made. It won a couple of awards and did the whole festival circuit, and it's on Amazon Prime. It's called Pervs. Joey's in it. Felipe Esparza's in it. Jimmy Schubert's in it. Laurie Kilmartin's in it. Paul Provenza. A million other people. Red Band's in it. And it's about deviance. And
Nice.
it's pretty saucy, so if you want to give that a shout out and leave a review.
It's about
I would love
deviance,
that. Yeah,
and you sure
yeah.
casted a. I'm just messing around.
Oh, that's all right.
Because all the dudes you mentioned, I meant. I was just trying to be
No,
funny.
but what it
Give a
was
joke.
is there was this girl named Susanna Lee that was a comic, but she was also a sex worker on the side. And so our film is about the last working vintage peep show in the Los Angeles County area. And so she had kept it a secret that she was a sex worker from all her friends in comedy and fellow comics. So she interviews them while she gives them a peep show, and they talk about deviance. And it's really fascinating to see
That sounds cool.
Whoa.
who can like be confronted with sex. Even guys that you're like, you know, like Jimmy Schubert, like you're like, oh, this guy's seen everything, but then he's just like a big old fucking baby, like, "Wah," you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's very interesting project, and give it a look.
Wow. Okay. And you can stream it on Prime?
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good for you. And do you have any shows coming up?
I do have some shows. I have a show on October 29th, the Liars Club. It'll be our third time up in the Belly Room, going on before Roast Battle. We just had our first show, which we had like Brad Williams and Christina P. and Jamie Kennedy, and that was Banana Cakes. And so I have that show. We have a show this Friday at the Ice House where we also do the Liars Club. I'm at the Laugh Factory in Vegas the third week of August.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. And you guys, I'm coming to Riverside this Thursday, August 8th. I'm at some country club over there that I don't remember the name of, but you can go to homeschoolpod.com and click on tour and find out where to get tickets and more information on that. If you're in Riverside, check it out, homeschoolpod.com, click tour for this August 8th, Thursday. And I want to thank Felicia Michaels for coming today.
Thank you.
And Kevin Lyons for being my co-host. I don't like you sitting over there, Kevin.
It feels weird.
We got to get
We
this.
changed up the layout.
Kevin usually sits there. The
Uh-huh.
guest usually sits here. And I usually sit there. But we just started doing video, so we're trying new things.
Right on.
And I feel like Kevin's the video guy rather than a co-host.
That's exactly how I felt like.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get a second camera so you can sit back
And,
over
and
here.
I got stoned, so I just went back to like regular work mode where I'm just like behind the camera, just making sure everything's okay. I'm like, holy shit, I'm supposed to say stuff.
And Kevin is at The Real Kev Lyons on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Augustino Zoida.
I'm at Felicia Michaels all across the board.
We
on
keep
all
it simple.
platforms, Yeah.
We keep it simple here for you guys. And I want to give a big thank you to Boomer Natural Wellness. Guys, go to boomernaturalwellness.com for wellness CBD products, infused CBD products for you and your pets. We're talking lotions, oils, gummies, and more. Just go check it out and use the promo code LittleD20 to get 20% off. There you go. Just a little help out from the Homeschooled podcast. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully I'll see you guys in Riverside, and see you next time.